What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Later than I usually post a video, but sometimes that's what needs to happen, and that was the case today. So it is still Victory Monday, 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern. So for some of you, it's almost not Victory Monday anymore. We're moving on to Tuesday in not too long. Honestly, some of my East Coast viewers are probably already in bed. This Monday Night Football game's just about to wrap up here, so yeah, it's later than I usually post, but if you're watching this on the next day, nothing really changes. The numbers are still here. The numbers are still good. The numbers don't move overnight. So, whenever you're watching this, thank you. We are here to talk about the Pro Football Focus grades for the Seahawks defense, see how they match up with the eye test, see how they match up with what we think we saw, and just make interesting observations. Again, we are not here to suggest that PFF said it, so it must be true. Nor are we here to say that PFF said it, so it must be false. Some people do one of those two things. We're not going to do either of those two things here. But we are going to take a look at what they have to say and take it into the equation. So this is the defense. We got some numbers to go through. Before we get to those, though, I hope you like this video. If you do, please click the thumbs up button down below. Helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. Okay, so just looking at the defensive grade, like the top level grade that PFF gave. The top rated player was somebody who barely played, Trevis Gibson, so, good for him, I guess, but that's not really what we're looking for, right? 7 snaps is not going to be a sample size that is adequate. What we're really looking at here would be these other guys at the top. And I got to give it up to Rayshawn Jenkins here, who I didn't notice him that much in this game. And when it comes to being a safety in this league, that's probably a good thing. If you're Rayshawn Jenkins, you don't really want to be noticed that much. And I didn't notice him that much. He had 7 tackles in this game, didn't miss any. That's really the most that I can say about him in terms of like immediate impact on the game. But I thought he was relatively quiet and peaceful. And if you're a safety, that probably means you're doing your job. And you can see he was generally well graded in most areas, run defense, tackling, coverage. So, Rayshawn, you're the king of the castle today. And then you have the usual suspects, right? You've got Leonard Williams, who lived in the backfield. You've got Boye Mafe, who lived in the backfield. And then you've got Reek Woolen, who had another relatively shutdown day. He gave up a little bit, but he's off to a great start this year. And I also want to shout out Jaron Reed, who I haven't said his name very much yet this year because he hasn't done a lot of big splash stuff. But in this game, PFF gave him credit for playing solid. So I'm looking at these grades like big picture. So those would be probably your top 5 guys, right? We're going to throw Gibson out because he only played 7 snaps. Although, credit to him for holding up and doing his job when he was in there, I suppose. But you've got Boye Mafe, you've got Derek Hall as 2 of your highest graded defenders. Not that Derek Hall was graded out amazingly. You can see that Derek Hall got dinged a little bit with his run defense. Boye Mafe got dinged with his tackling, which I think is fair. He missed the tackle that created like 50 yards for Antonio Gibson on that one run. And generally speaking, Boye Mafe is living in the backfield, but he's not finishing the play with sacks yet. That's what needs to come. Boye Mafe, I'll probably make a video about this tomorrow, is getting a higher pressure rate than Aiden Hutchinson through 2 games. And Aiden Hutchinson has like 38 sacks this year or something. He's absolutely killing it back there. Mafe has a higher pressure rate than Aiden Hutchinson, but he only has 2 sacks. And the recipe to alleviate that is to finish more. So that's what needs to come now. But he is living in the backfield along with Leonard Williams. And that's the tip of your spear in this game, right? You had some other guys who did a lot of damage back there. Derek Hall had another pretty decent game rushing the passer. Byron Murphy actually had a nice little game as well. He had the half sack. He had a few hurries, 4 pressures total. But the guys who lived in the backfield against the Broncos, by and large, did the same thing against the Patriots. So you can see where the seat of the power is, right? And that's why some of these guys, Byron Murphy actually, and we'll get to this in a second here, not graded well, but that's something that needs to be discussed in a different area. Point is, this team is generating pressure, Remember, Brissett barely dropped back to pass in this game. They ran the ball as much as they could. They did not have Brissett do that much. So getting 21 total pressures, according to PFF, I know, it's PFF, pretty good. Pretty great. Pretty great. Also really notable from these game gradings, missed tackles, not a big problem. I really thought we were going to get dinged for missed tackling in this game. Not really. Leonard Williams had one. Boye Mafe had one, which was the main reason why their grades weren't elite. Julian Love had one. And then you had one each from Dodson, Murphy, Hankins, and Baker. That's 7. That's fewer than last week. I'm surprised. Maybe my view got skewed because I think we missed like 4 tackles on the 45-yard run by Gibson. And I just kind of ended up parlaying that into something bigger than it needed to be. I don't know. But this is not bad at all. If you're playing almost 70 defensive snaps and you're missing 7 tackles, that's good. That's doable. That's totally workable. So, pretty good. I suspect what it was is that we didn't get credit for missed tackles on some plays where it was determined that the tackle was slightly more difficult than average to make. So sometimes PFF will look at things in context, which is totally cool. I got no problem with that. But the main issue that the Seahawks had in this game in terms of their grading, and that's why you see a lot of these players kind of getting average grades, right? Because you had Trey Brown got a decent grade, Julian Love got a decent grade, and then the cliff hits, right? After you get past those guys, Witherspoon, average. Adams only played 1 snap, who cares? Average. Mike Morris played 2 snaps, who cares? Average. But then you got Draymond Jones, slightly below average. Why? Run defense. Tyrese Knight, he's kind of the exception here. He got a low grade, even though he did really well in most areas because of coverage, which, by the way, I'm totally going to ignore that. Really? He's a rookie. Of course he's going to get lit up in coverage at the linebacker spot, especially in this game. So, in my mind, Tyrese Knight, in context, actually played really impressively, and I'm actually pretty happy with what I got from him, but he's kind of the exception here. Everyone else, look, Dodson, terrible run defense grade. Byron Murphy, really bad run defense grade. Jonathan Hankins, awful run defense grade, and also awful tackle grade. Jerome Baker, his main problem was coverage in this game, and tackling more so than run defense, but still not good. Kayvon Wallace, really bad kind of everywhere, actually. So, mostly, it wasn't about the tackling, it was about the run defense. And those things kind of go hand in hand, but there's more to it than that, right? It's about staying in your lane, it's about being in the right place, it's about getting off blocks. And that's what wasn't there in this game. And McDonald talked about the run defense a little bit today in his presser. He said, yeah, there is some execution, but he felt like he got out-schemed. He got kind of out-coached, and he didn't put the team in a good enough position to stop the run. So it's good to hear McDonald take the blame for that, to fall on the axe for that a little bit. And he said, look, I got to fix it. And he does. So I'm not going to get too twisted out of shape in a game where you lost one of your starting linebackers. But at the same time, you look at this, and it's not like Tyrese Knight was the reason why you were bad on run defense, right? Tyrese Knight did not miss a tackle in this game. Tyrese Knight was active and involved in this game. And in terms of that part of the game, he did good. The reason why he got docked was because he got beat up in coverage, which, again, I don't even really care about that much. He's a 4th-round rookie. But the main issue here is structural and fundamental parts of run defense in this league. Not the tackling. It's the stuff that comes before the tackling that was missing. And you can see that reflected here, both in scheme, but of course, execution. All right, so going into more specific things, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We have pass coverage Thursday and pass rush Friday to do that. But you take a look at the cover numbers. These are the PFF coverage numbers, of course. You can clearly see what the quote-unquote issue was. One note, they gave Kayvon Wallace the touchdown. I thought it was Love, but they didn't give Love the touchdown. I'm going to have to look at that play again and try to see how I feel about it. I thought it was Love, but they're giving it to Wallace. I'm interested to see what PFR does there. So that's the main reason why Kayvon Wallace got graded so poorly in this game. He wasn't in the game that much, and when he did, he gave up the 5-yard touchdown to Jalen Polk. But you take a look at coverage overall. Woolen, 3 targets, 14 yards, totally fine. Julian Love, 3 targets, 16 yards. That's fine too. He had a pass breakup, the only pass breakup we had all game, I think. Dodson, 1 target, 10 yards, sure. Trey Brown shuts him out on 2 targets. Witherspoon, 1 target, 5 yards, but he also got penalized twice, so that's why his grade is so low, which some people were arguing that one of those penalties was garbage because the receiver ran into him. I don't know, maybe. But regardless, that was a big part of a scoring drive for the Patriots, getting those 2 penalties on Spoon. So read into it as you will. We already talked about Wallace. This is where things got sticky. And it's not the end of the world to get targeted 10 times in coverage and allow 99 yards, but it's not good, right? It's a problem. When you are getting targeted 10 times in a game and the team is averaging 10 yards per target, that's a problem. And you can see that Knight and Baker were the culprits here. And again, Knight, I don't really care that much. He's a rookie. He was, thrown into action out there. He did the best that he could. No beef with Knight. Baker only had 10 coverage snaps. Got targeted on half of them, gave up 44 yards. And I don't know if I think it was like a player issue so much as I feel like it was a planning issue. Like, to me, it was very obvious. It was incredibly obvious that New England was going to throw stick routes to their tight ends all day. Stick routes and little slant routes and curl routes, just get the ball out of Brissett's hands quickly to the tight ends. And it didn't seem like we were ready for that early in the game. Second half, we put Julian Love on Hunter Henry, and he didn't do much of anything. But it took us like a half to do that. So this is why I said yesterday, I kind of feel like, that McDonald got out-coached and we won because we have more talent. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting coming out of this game. Like, you can clearly see the area of this team that got hurt, and it's the exact area you would expect. New England doesn't have receivers. Pass rush, we already kind of went through this, but it's still pretty money. By the way, Woolen, I think that this might be his first career quarterback pressure. Not 100% sure about that. Draymond on the board on PFF as well. Dodson. So you're seeing some of the blitz stuff come in, some of the blitz stuff work. And just generally speaking, we're going to have to talk more about this pass rush later this week because it's working so incredibly well, and we're getting such good results out of some of these players, probably beyond what people were expecting through the first several games of this season. And real quick, I also want to talk a little bit about the special teams. Julian Love led the way. I wonder why. I wonder what Julian Love could have done on special teams that would have given him this incredibly high grade, But beyond that, Kayvon Wallace, Jake Bobo, really good. How does Nehemiah Pritchett get a high grade when he almost ran into our punt returner on what would have been the game-losing play? Nehemiah Pritchett tried to tackle D. Williams on a crucial punt return, and somehow he's graded above average. Explain it. Make it make sense. I don't think you can. And everybody else, pretty anonymous, not much to say here necessarily. Dixon continues to punt like a beast. Myers, off to a good start so far. Nobody really stands out as being like really bad. Kind of interesting though, we only had 2 total tackles on special teams. Kind of funky. Usually you won't see that in a game, but yeah, I think that's it for our PFF review. Some interesting things, some notable things. I think we can learn some stuff here, but at the same time, I'm going to look at some of this stuff in context and go, that's crap. Like, honestly, I think Devin Witherspoon should get graded higher than a 60.1. Like, he was locked down in coverage all day. He had 2 penalties on him on a 1 scoring drive, but other than that, he's so good. He's better than average in this game. I'm coming out of this game feeling like he did way better than average. I don't think Dodson should be getting docked like this. I know Dodson didn't play as well as he did in the first game, but this is brutal, kind of. Tyrese Knight? I don't know. I feel like what he did against the run was actually the shot in the arm that we needed to salvage this game. But hey, they put a lot of work into what they do over at PFF, and a lot of it is good work. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming tomorrow. Pretty sure this will be the last one today because it's so late, but maybe they'll announce something big tonight. I don't know. See you guys later. Go Hawks.